given, I now give the floor to Sri Lanka, followed by Angola and Belgium. Sri Lanka, the floor is yours.
Madam President, let me begin by congratulating you on your assumption as chair of this conference. I assure you and the members of the Bureau our fullest support and constructive engagement in the deliberations. My delegation associates itself with the statement delivered by Indonesia on behalf of the non-aligned movement and wishes to make the following points in our national capacity. Madam President, in the context of the heightened tensions that we witness today in many theaters of conflict, it is a fact that the proliferation of illicit small arms and light weapons has contributed in no small measure to exacerbating conflict situations, leading to immense human suffering and further complicating any possible resolution even by addressing root causes. Having undergone a prolonged conflict until its end in 2009, Sri Lanka has experienced firsthand how the illicit trade in small arms and light weapons is linked with arms smuggling, money laundering, the illicit narcotics trade, and other multifarious social ills. Such networks perpetuate an endless cycle of violence and conflict that devastates societies, with profiteering by criminal and terrorist groups becoming a goal in itself. Sri Lanka therefore sees the POA as a pivotal international tool in curbing the illicit spread of small arms and light weapons, and looks forward to the adoption of a consensual and balanced outcome document that would provide the framework for meaningful action in the coming years. In doing so, it is incumbent on all of us to draw on the principles espoused in 2001 Programme of Action. Respect for the sovereign equality of states, respect for the principle of non-interference, peaceful resolution of disputes, and the right to individual and collective self-defense as espoused in the UN Charter assume paramount importance. These principles, in essence, reaffirm the inherent right of each state to legally manufacture, acquire, stockpile, manage, and transfer small arms and light weapons for security purposes, and consistent with the letter and spirit of the UN Charter. However, it is incumbent that along with this right comes a corresponding primary responsibility to prevent, combat, and eradicate the illicit trade in small arms and light weapons. As Arundhati Roy once said, first weapons were manufactured to fight wars. Now wars are manufactured to sell weapons. This primary responsibility is best ensured when international cooperation aimed at sharing knowledge and resources to build national capacities becomes a reality. Mechanisms are needed where non-discriminatory assistance is provided to countries upon their request to build robust national capacities to trace and mark their small arms and light weapons and to monitor their international borders. Robust mechanisms also ensure compliance with SDG 16, enabling peace, justice, and strong institutions. We recognize that the full and effective implementation of the international tracing instrument would enable states to identify and trace in a timely and reliable manner the illicit trade in SALW. The success of such a mechanism would be dependent upon the level of international cooperation in building the technical resources and expertise in many countries. The lack of capacity, therefore, becomes a major inhibitory factor. In this regard, we reiterate the importance of a sustained UN fellowship on small arms and light weapons as a practical measure to build capacity, knowledge, and expertise for implementation of the POA and the ITI. Madam Chairperson, preventing, combating, and eradicating the illicit trade in small arms and light weapons requires a comprehensive plan of action. It is a fact that more than any other conventional weapon, small arms and light weapons adversely affect human security. They damage fragile economies, deter foreign investments, divert economic resources, inhibit the fulfillment of basic human needs, and facilitate human rights violations. The Sri Lankan model followed at the end of the conflict in 2009 was to disarm and demobilize the terrorist group and thereafter reintegrate former terrorist cadres into society. At the end of the conflict, Sri Lanka was thus able to de-radicalize and reintegrate around 12,000 cadres, including 594 child soldiers. They were given the opportunity to go back to school or engage in vocational training programs that would equip them with the necessary skills for reintegration. The success of this model can be seen in the fact that there has not been any resurgence in terrorist activities or in the proliferation of small arms and light weapons in criminal activities post-conflict. Madam Chairperson, if we are intent on effectively addressing the illicit trade of small arms and light weapons and curb its proliferation, the path ahead is clear. Let us use this review conference to take practical steps to strengthen international cooperation and capacity building in member states and create the much needed forward momentum to complement existing bilateral, regional and international agreements to put an end to this most destructive of trades. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Sri Lanka for his statement. I now